everyone to our regular meeting of council. We have full council in attendance with us this evening. Councillor Link from Ward 1, Councillor Bussetti from Ward 2, Councillor Kleiber from Ward 3, and Councillor Craig from Ward 4. Our CAO is with us this evening as well, Brent Olnick. RM of West St. Paul is our MLO Lainey Shaw, and our Rediver Planning District Planner, Derek Eno, is joining us tonight as well. Thank you. I will read the resolution to open up our meeting. Be it resolved that the meeting be called to order and that the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Craig, seconded Councillor Link. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Link.
Of course, I will be voting to adopt the agendas as they appear on the RM website for the public and on AllNet for council. This does not mean I approve of any additions to agenda items following the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. CAO.
I just want to be clear that nobody's making any changes to the agenda at the end of the meeting or after the end of the meeting. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. That would be illegal if I'm not correct. Under the Municipal Act, it would not be legal to be adding things to an agenda after a meeting. Thank you. So it's kind of a challenging way to start the meeting by saying you'll accept the meeting as long as staff does not engage in illegal activity. If we're going to do that, Councillor Link, as you're wanting to do, then I'll just remind council of our responsibilities. Our CAO and our MLO have a responsibility on the agenda to ensure that the agenda and the meeting minutes are correct. That's their legal responsibility. We have responsibilities too, I would like council to focus on. So under our procedural bylaw, under conduct, every member previous to his or her speaking should address the chair. When two or more members want to address the chair at the same time, the chair shall name the member who is to speak first. When the chair is to decide a point of order, he or she will do so without comment unless required. When the chair is putting a question, no member shall leave his or her chair. Discussion should be limited to the question in debate. And we have a number of issues as well from our code of conduct bylaw regarding our conduct at the meeting, to commit to a positive working relationship with other council members, employees, and the public, to recognize that debate is an essential part of the democratic process, and to participate in constructive conversation and encourage other members of council and staff to participate as well, and that discussion be limited to 5 minutes. So I don't like to start our beginning of our meetings being accusatory towards staff and their role or council in theirs, but if that is the wish of council that we highlight that at the beginning of meetings, we can do so. Any other comments, concerns regarding adopting the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. No addendums to the agenda. This would be the time that we would add them, not after the meeting. If there was any addendums, they would be added now, and there are none to add. Opening remarks. The RM of West St. Paul strives to be a safe and inclusive community that residents are proud to call home, where diversity is embraced, the environment is cared for, and leadership is valued and trusted. The West St. Paul Council is committed to working as a team to provide good governance, safe and reliable infrastructure, recreational facilities, and outdoor spaces that the community can enjoy in a sustainable way that values the environment and is financially prudent. Thank you. We have a number of one public hearing, I apologize, on our agenda for this evening. And so I'll just briefly go over, for those not familiar with the public hearing process, how that works for anyone watching and participating this evening on the public hearing. We're aware that most people who attend our council meetings or view our meetings for planning matters like the one here tonight, they are not completely familiar with how the planning process works. I want to spend a few minutes providing some additional context so that we all have a better understanding of the process, the requirements around the Manitoba Planning Act, and our local bylaws. Any person can apply for a variance, conditional use, or a rezoning, as is here this evening, by making the application with West St. Paul's Planning Authority, the Rediver Planning District. This does not mean council has endorsed the planning item. When an application is submitted, council is required to hear from the applicant, from those representatives who attend the public hearing to speak in favor, in opposition, or for more information. It is important to note that council is being presented with all the information at the same time as those in attendance here tonight. There are procedures council must follow once an application is officially filed with the Rediver Planning District and until such time as a decision is made. Council members cannot speak with the applicant or any other person who may be seeking information or wants to speak in support or in opposition of the open application. This guards against anyone influencing council members before the public hearing and ensures members of council make their decision based on the same information heard or presented by way of correspondence here tonight. Often residents are frustrated by not being able to speak to their elected officials once an application has been filed, but this is done for these reasons. The Rediver Planning District staff, however, can answer questions from the public at any time. The Rediver Planning District accepts applications from residents and developers who want to build houses, sheds, swimming pools, garages, and from those who want to subdivide their land from one lot splits to larger developments or apply for rezoning, as we see here tonight. Rediver Planning District staff are professional planners recognized by a professional association and are tasked with researching every application. Their work and recommendations to council are made based on a legal framework, not personal opinions. They review each application against the Manitoba Planning Act, our development plan, our zoning bylaw, and they also circulate the application to many other organizations that are impacted, such as Manitoba Infrastructure, the Public School Finance Board, Sustainable Development, Gas, Hydro, and adjacent municipalities. Our RPD staff does this to determine if the application meets all the legal requirements. At public hearings, council hears from many delegations, and we will ultimately decide if the application is a good fit for the community and if it will be approved. We consider both the legal requirements the planner has researched as well as feedback from our community. I want to briefly discuss the process of conducting a public hearing. To begin, a resolution is read to open the public hearing. Our planner begins by presenting information from his report as well as recommendations to council. Council members can then ask questions for clarification through the chair. We then hear from the applicant, followed by those who have registered to speak in favor, those opposed, and from those who are registered for information. At the end of these presentations, the applicant will have the opportunity to respond. At that time, no new information can be presented. Council members will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification to the applicant and anyone registered to speak on the planning item. All questions must be made through the chair as per our procedural bylaw. And that is to open it up. That's our planning public hearing process. And with that, I will read the resolution to open up the public hearing. Be it resolved, this meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing pursuant to section 74(1) of the Planning Act. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Brussetti. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Mr. Eno, I will turn it over to you to share your report with council.
Thank you, Mary. I'm just going to share my screen with all of you just to run you through the application you're dealing with. So as you noted, this is zoning bylaw amendment 2021-14P. It's for properties located at 630 and 638 Grassmere Road. And what they're proposing to do is to rezone a portion of those properties from the agriculture A80 zone to the RS service residential zone, which would facilitate future residential development on the property. So here's the property that we're dealing with, just outlined in black. The title extends northward across the Grassmere Drain or Creek to two houses that are fronting onto Grassmere Road. If council recalls, at the beginning of the month, you reviewed a subdivision and council approved the subdivision to split off this southern portion of the land from the northern portion there. So the applicant's asking to rezone this section to the RS zone. Here's just a map that shows you the current zoning in the area. As you can see, the two little pieces are zoned as A80, and everything around it to the east and to the south, or sorry, to the west and to the south are zoned RS, service residential zone, which is part of the emerging neighborhood that's under construction as we speak. So for rezoning applications, what we look at for the approval criteria is what's listed in the Planning Act, which says that a rezoning or a zoning bylaw and its amendments must be generally in conformance with the development plan as well as any applicable plans. So this area in the Red River Planning District's development plan is listed as a settlement center, and settlement centers are where you will find a barrage of different types of urban services and developments, from commercial to institutional and educational facilities, as well as residential neighborhoods dealing with single family and multifamily types of uses. So this zone does fit with the development plan. As well, the area is designated as an emerging residential neighborhood in the secondary plan for this area, the Middlechurch secondary plan. And once again, the zone does adhere or fit within that designation, as the emerging residential neighborhood is meant to accommodate a range of different types of residential uses, from single family to various different types of multifamily zones. The application has also been circulated to the government departments as per the Planning Act instructions in there, and no concerns came from those departments. So based on all that, oops, I'm just going to stop sharing. Based on that, the application generally conforms to both the development plan and the secondary plan, and that it seems to fit and be an extension of the surrounding residentially zoned area, and that there are no concerns coming from the provincial offices. We're suggesting that the bylaw could be approved by council. That's all I have on this, Madam Chair. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Oh, I guess I should also say our office did not receive any questions or objections from the public as well on this application. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. I will go around our virtual table here, see if there are any questions for you regarding your report. Councillor Link, any questions for Mr. Eno?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple. Were there any comments received from agencies after the date the report was received?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I have another. I'm wondering, the applicant, you tell us, is seeking to create those 4 lots from an existing 2 parcels and 4 titles. And this application is to facilitate subdivision 21, 29, 35. Will subdivision 21, 29, 35 be consolidated with the parcel that's beside it to the west? I believe that's 11, there's 412 lots, I think. I think it's subdivision 2935. Are they going to be consolidated? Do you know?
Not at this time, Councillor. The subdivision application that's part of this is just to make those 2 little pieces south of Grassmere.
Okay.
But I'm sure the applicant can probably speak to what their future plans are.
Oh, okay. Now, could you tell us if new roads or extensions of existing roads are needed to service those couple new lots? Would the applicant be required to come back to council for approval for a further subdivision of those lots in subdivision 21, 29, 35?
Yes, so no new roads are required because there's frontage, unless of course they make some sort of a cul-de-sac or something on these different lands. But regardless, if they want to split that land up any more than what it currently looks like, they would have to come back to council for another approval.
Okay, good to know, thanks. Now, I'm just, when I'm reading the bylaw, I just see the lots A, B, D, B, G are referred to in the bylaw. And those are the lots north of Grassmere. And I'm wondering why those lots are mentioned, because they are not being rezoned. They are remaining RR, I believe, or RRO. They're not being rezoned RS. So I don't understand why their parcel letters are being included in the bylaw.
Right. No, good question. So in the bylaw, we have to indicate what land is being rezoned. And the way that we do that is by listing the legal description. So as you pointed out, the legal description includes both sections north and south of the Grassmere drain. So we have to include all of that in the legal description. Now, what we do as a qualifier in the bylaw, if you flip to the next page in the bylaw, the schedule has a map that outlines specifically what we're rezoning. So it's only specifically the portion that's outlined.
Okay, that clarifies everything for me then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Bisetti, any questions for Mr. Eno?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kleiber, any questions?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Prague, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
No questions from me either. Thank you. Great report. Miss Elias, do we have anyone registered to speak in support, opposition, or for information this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have Nathan mailing with us this evening, registered in support.
As the applicant, I apologize. Miss Elias. Nathan, can you hear us okay?
I can, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. And you're speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Waterside Development concurs with Eric Emo, the community planner's report to rezone the 4 lots from A80 to RS service residential zone.
Great, thank you. Was there anything else that you were wanting to add from what the planner said?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I will go around and see if there are any questions for you. Councillor Link, any questions?
Really, I just possibly I misheard. Could you clarify how many lots are being, how many parcels are being rezoned?
As per the report, there's 4 lots that are being rezoned.
And those 4 lots, how would they be described?
Derek, can you maybe just comment on that just to make sure that I'm accurately describing those lots, please?
Sure. Is that okay, Madam Mayor? Yep. Okay, thank you. So it's the portions of the 2 titles that are south of the Grassmere drain, which are described as parcels C, F, and H. Is that cleared up?
Yes, it is. 3 parcels, C, F, and H. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Link. Councillor Bisetti, any questions?
No, thank you.
Councillor Kleiber, any questions for the applicants?
No, thank you.
And Councillor Prague, any questions for the applicants?
Thank you, Nathan. No questions for Nate. Thank you.
Thank you. And no questions from me as well. Seems really straightforward. Thank you. Miss Elias, do we have anyone else registered to speak in support, opposition, or for information?
No one else registered to speak, but we do have Donna Thordarson and Bill McGarry registered in support. No one registered against or for information.
Thank you. Anything else that you're wanting to add, Nathan? Otherwise, we can close the public hearing.
No, thank you. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you for being here tonight. And with that, I will read the resolution to close the public hearing and council can discuss. Be resolved that council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Russetti. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Right, I will read for second reading resolution here. Be it resolved that bylaw amendment 2021-14P, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of West St. Paul to rezone the southern portion of 630 and 638 Grassmere Road from A80 agricultural to RS serviced residential be read a second time. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Russetti. Any discussion regarding this application? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. And we have third reading. Be it resolved that bylaw amendment 2021-14P, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of West St. Paul to rezone the southern portion of 630 and 638 Grassmere Road from A80 agricultural to RS serviced residential, be read a third and final time, signed, sealed, and therefore passed as a bylaw of the rural municipality of West St. Paul. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Kleiber. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Right, under general planning matters 6.1, we have first reading of zoning bylaw amendment 2022-7. And Mr. Eno, I will refer to you to introduce this and discuss this with council before reading the resolution.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen again with all of you. So this is zoning bylaw amendment application 2022-007. It's for a property located at Grassmere, and the applicant's asking to rezone the property from an A80 agricultural zone to an RR rural residential zone. So here's where the property is located, just on the north side of Grassmere. I guess we can say in the western portion of the municipality and adjacent to some existing rural residential properties. And here's just the context of the current zoning of the area. As you can see, the property is surrounded to the northeast, the west, as well as to the south with rural residential zones. Now, this property is designated in the development plan as rural residential. So a rural residential zone would fit within here. And we're suggesting that at this time, council can give it first reading. That would trigger the process for us to then start advertising for a public hearing, as well as soliciting and obtaining input from the provincial agencies and doing a deeper dive into some analysis on this property to bring it all forward to council, ultimately a public hearing. Council should also be aware that there is an associated subdivision application with this rezoning. It's subdivision file S222946. And here is just a bit of a layout of that subdivision application. So that's not part of the discussion of this rezoning per se, but the rezoning, if approved, would facilitate this subdivision layout for rural residential lots. So what we would be proposing is that if council gives this bylaw first reading, we would schedule both the rezoning and the subdivision public hearings to come back to council so you can review it and talk about it all in one shot. That's all I have this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Eno. I'll go around our virtual table here and see if there are any questions. Councillor Bisetti, any questions for Mr. Eno on this application?
No questions, thank you.
Councillor Kleiber, any questions for Mr. Eno?
Mr. Eno, since the subdivision conceptual is there, I'm gonna ask some quick questions. Is the applicant proposing holding tanks?
They haven't indicated, but they would have to because they're under the 2-acre lot size that the province requires.
Okay, I had a hard time seeing the lot sizes. The picture that was submitted was not very clear, even when I
For
went up
sure.
to 400%. I couldn't see the lot sizes, so it's been a problem with other applications as well. What is the largest lot size then in this conceptual?
It looks like just under 2 acres in size, like 1.8, 1.9, I think we have here. But most of them are adhering to the minimum lot size of 1 acre and a third.
Okay, and question for you on the, this is adjacent to Blockland Avenue, I believe, right next door. Are those septic fields, do you know, or are those holding tanks?
I don't know off the top of my head, but
I'll check that out for the.
I could have an answer for the public hearing.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pereg. Any questions for Mr. Eno?
No, thank you.
And Councillor Link, any questions for Mr. Eno?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I was wondering about also the total acreage of that property, if you know it.
For sure. You just bear with me a second. So it's just under 35 acres in size.
Great. And I heard you say this is going to end up triggering a public hearing because they're looking at roads for their subdivision.
Exactly.
Good, good. Thank you. That's all.
Just one question from me or a comment. You know, this council's been committed to public open houses and asking developers to bring those forward. I'm not sure if that's something that you can mention or not, and not necessarily on the rezoning, and I understand that's identified in our development plan. But for the subdivision portion going forward, I know we are not able to force developers to have open houses. But maybe as the planner and knowing council and how our developers have been going to residents to engage them and have open houses ahead of time, maybe when you speak to the applicant next, as this council will not be engaging the applicant with an open application, you could mention that this is something that our community and our council has really pushed for, that residents in the area are engaged through open houses. And this may be something that you're questioned on when you come back to council at part of public hearings. So just a note from me. As like I said, I will not be engaging in any applicants while there is an open application, but it's really been a focus of our council. So you're in a position to be able to pass that information along, Mr. Eno.
For sure.
Thank you. Right, if there are no further comments, I will read the resolution for the first reading. Be it resolved that bylaw amendment 2022-7P, being a bylaw of the Real Municipality of West St. Paul to rezone the unaddressed property located on Grassmere Road, Lot 2, Plan 61706, roll number 417550, from A80 agricultural to RR rural residential, be read a first time. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Kleiber, seconded Councillor Bisetti. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you, Mr. Eno, for being available for us this evening to answer our questions and share your reports. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, council. Have a good evening.
Good night. All right, on our agenda, we are down to item 6.2, Rediver Planning District Activity Report. And so as part of that, we have our development services, the permit issuance activity report, planning services, applications received and activity report from January, and then the development services, permit issuance and activity report from February, and the planning services, applications received and activity report from February. So these are on our Rediver Planning board meeting agendas, but it's important that we share that with council and the community as well, so we're not having to search for that in the Red River Planning District information, and everyone can see the level of activity and what's going on in terms of permit issuance in West St. Paul. So we're very busy. Mr. CEO, anything else that you were wanting to add to the information presented?
I'll just add that I'm not going to go through the numbers, but we're getting stronger than we were last year in the region. So for permits and activities, we're, I believe now we're almost at 50%. So we keep climbing in strength and growth and health of our communities. And really, I'd have to say, with all due respect to the other communities, that we're carrying the Red River planning region. This region, our little West St. Paul, is turning into that train that's a strong locomotive and really pulling a lot of people behind us down the tracks, keeping the whole region healthy.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. If there's anything I could add for council and our community that might be valuable, it's that myself and Councillor Busetti, who are members on the Red River Planning District, are bringing up the possibility of West St. Paul being a site for the next Red River Planning District if the separation of Selkirk is approved. And so in the first 4 months of 2022, we had, I believe, 78 or 76 permits issued for residents in our community, compared to some of the other member municipalities who had 8 or 6. And so we have advocated strongly for our residents and people in the region and builders and developers who often come from Winnipeg, that West St. Paul would be a great location for a possible future Red River planning. And so just to let our council know that we're advocating on behalf of council and our residents and the people that do business in our community, that we're a pretty great location to possibly have future RRPD work out of. And the fact that we exceed on the permits and that we have so many, 78 in the first couple of months, 3 months of the year, compared to 8 and 6 permits, and not knocking our neighbors, they want to have good access too. But we're really advocating for that. So just to keep everyone in the loop. All right, we will go down to confirmation of minutes, 7.1, special meeting of March 7th. Be it resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on March 7th, 2022 be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Busetti, seconded Councillor Craig. Any questions, concerns regarding the special meeting of March 7th? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. 7.2, Committee of the Whole meeting, March 8th. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of council held on March 8th, 2022 be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Link. Any questions, concerns regarding Committee of the Whole meeting? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. 7.3 is our regular planning meeting of March 10th. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular planning meeting of council held on March 10th, 2020 be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Busetti, seconded Councillor Prague. Any questions regarding those meeting minutes? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And our final minutes, special meeting of March 14th, be it resolved that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on March 14th, 2022 be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Brussetti, seconded Councillor Prague. Any questions regarding the special meeting on March 14th? Hearing and seeing none. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed?
I have to abstain from these minutes as I was not in attendance, and this was about my appeal for sanctions on code of conduct.
Thank you, and that is carried. All right, no delegations for this evening. Bylaws for consideration.
Mayor?
We have, yes,
My apologies. I did not see Councillor Link, so
thank you, Ms. Shaw.
thank you.
Thank you. First reading of use of municipal resources in an election bylaw. I will read the resolution, and then if there's any discussion, be it resolved that bylaw 2022-8 being a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul for the use of municipal resources in an election be read a first time. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Brussetti, seconded Councillor Prague. Any discussion regarding this bylaw? Councillor Link, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to suggest a couple of additions or amendments. When we're talking about supplies under the definitions section, I think we could include office supplies, any type of supplies. And then my next concern is number 7, which talks about immediately declaring someone guilty without any due process and fined not more than $1,000, and then every day after that imposing more fines. My concern is there's a decision made, but there's not any due process. There's not any way to appeal this, or are we following our enforcement bylaw? I don't see it. So I have concerns there.
Thank you, Councillor Link. Mr. CAO, I refer to you or Ms. Shaw through you to
Ms. Shaw.
Ms. Shaw, thanks. Are you able to address the questions raised by Councillor Link?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Link. We can review the definitions. Those are good suggestions. Regarding number 7, the inspection and enforcement, the enforcement bylaw would be used here for enforcement, and the appeal process would follow that bylaw. So there is a process. We don't need to replicate it in this bylaw. Anytime we do enforcement, we use our enforcement bylaw and refer to that when we're addressing the contravention.
I have a follow-up question then. Is that okay? Thank you. Then I'm wondering, I really feel strong that we should mention that the due process and enforcement of the enforcement bylaw will be carried out. I think it should be mentioned.
Ms. Shaw, I would refer that back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I can certainly look at that and bring amended wording for second reading if council is agreeable to that. It does read fine. If it's the wish of council to add that, I can certainly provide some amended reading at, amended wording at the second reading.
Really appreciate that, Ms. Shaw.
Councillor Bisetti?
Question, is this not a provincial, set out by the province, how this bylaw is pretty well written for election periods? Is it not just a standard, copy and paste, add the West St. Paul name to it?
Ms. Shaw?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bisetti. I can address that. You're right. This is a provincial template bylaw. We've followed it to the letter. The province did leave the enforcement section to the discretion of the municipality. I've used wording standard to our enforcement bylaw, so we can tweak that. But the remainder of the bylaw is totally consistent and matches that template provided by Municipal Relations in February.
Thank you.
Councillor Kleiber, any questions for Ms. Shaw?
I think it's a very good suggestion that we tweak that and be very clear of how the enforcement would be carried out. It just makes it clear for everybody what the process will be. So if Ms. Shaw doesn't mind, I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Councillor Prague. Any questions, concerns?
No questions, thank you.
I have no concern with linking it back to the enforcement bylaw as per Councillor Link's suggestion. It might simply just take 7.2, any persons who contravene a provision of this bylaw is guilty of an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of not more than $1,000 as per West St. Paul's enforcement bylaw number ... And so that links it back to the enforcement bylaw of where that 1,000 came from and provides reference. But if, just to ask a question, Ms. Shaw, on all our bylaws, now that we've passed an enforcement bylaw, our enforcement bylaw applies to all bylaws. Is that correct, where we have enforcement issues?
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, if everybody is good, I will read the resolution for first reading. Be it resolved that bylaw 2022-8, being a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul for the use of municipal resources in an election, be read a first time. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bisetti, seconded Councillor Prague. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. 10.1 is our payment register. That is as information. Any comments, concerns there? Okay. And we have communications 14.1, Department of Canadian Heritage funding decision. And so that is attached there to Celebrate Canada funding application. Any questions, concerns there? It's always great. We're getting more funding. 14.2 CPRA Youth Employment Experience Notice of Decision. That is also attached there. Any questions, concerns regarding that? Hearing and seeing none. On 15.1, Board of Revision. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul schedule the Board of Revisions for the 2022 Realty Business Personal Properties Rolls and Added Taxes for Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022 at 5 p.m. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Prague, seconded Councillor Bisetti. Any discussion regarding the date of the Board of Revision? Hearing and seeing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. 15.2 is the 2022 Seven Oaks School Division Scholarship. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul award the Seven Oaks Education Foundation 3 scholarships in the amount of $300, each for a graduating student from West Kildonan Collegiate, Maples Collegiate, Garden City Collegiate, who resides in the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Link, seconded Councillor Bisetti. Any discussion on the scholarships? Councillor Link, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the cost of higher education going up, cost of clothing for schools to attend school going up, cost of books going up. I would like to suggest that I would like to propose an amendment to the amount of each of those scholarships in the amount of $1,000 for each scholarship. And I would also like to add at the end of this resolution, a student who resides in the RM of West St. Paul and intends to pursue secondary education at Red River Community College or a university or some such institute of higher education. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Link. Any other comments regarding the scholarships? Councillor Bisetti?
I'm just gonna say this, it's got to do with this, but we've already approved the agenda as it's presented, and we've said that it can't get changed after we've approved it. So just a comment.
Thank you, Councillor Bisetti. Councillor Kleiber, go ahead.
I would just like to point out to Councillor Bichetti, a change in the amount of a scholarship has nothing to do with the change of the agenda. We haven't changed the agenda. All we've done is ask for a change in the amount. Now, the question would be, do we have any room in the budget for it? I think we do, but this is going to be a decision of council. I'm in favor of certainly increasing it. We should have discussion as to how high we would like to increase it if others are in favor.
Councillor Craig?
I have no problems increasing it, but my problem, if it's not budgeted, and we had this before, if a thing is not, something is not budgeted, we have a lot of discussion, a lot of up and down. And if there's money, I always said we should put money into petty cash. So when these things come up, we can facilitate. But if it's not in the budget, I think we should leave it for the following year. If we have, I'm fully agreeable to the whole council coming to one figure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Craig. I have a couple of concerns, and the budget is one of them, that every council member brings their budget request to council at budget time, and then we get to talk about it, debate it, get more information. And it's an interesting idea, Councillor Link, but I don't feel that that's come up at budget and that we have budgeted for that. And so we're wanting to be transparent in what we're approving and that it's part of our budget. And then the other concern I have, something that you mention often, Councillor Link, is giving enough notice to bring it to the attention for people to do their due diligence. So this could have come to the attention of administration prior, and they could reach out to the school division. How much are the school division grants? I know students that have a GPA over a certain amount are eligible, that the school division provides that. Are we going to be providing the services of the school division now? Is this up to the municipal council, or is it up to the school trustee? Should she be approaching us and providing us some breakdown of what are the grants they currently provide? What are the amounts that they provide? So I just feel that council's been blindsided and not given enough time or information to make a decision on this. So I would say that this is a great item to bring to the next budget, and this would be a great item to consult with our school trustee on in terms of what funding opportunities and scholarships are currently available through the school division. And I'll just remind council of the amount of school taxes that our residents pay in this community. And maybe they should be advocating to the school trustee that, you know, part of 60%, over 60% of our municipal, the tax bill that you get in the mail goes to the Seven Oaks School Division. And perhaps more of that money should be directed to the students by way of scholarship instead of us using our 38 or 36% of the taxes to increase scholarships. So that's my thought. I certainly believe in education, and that's a worthwhile investment in the future. But are we the source of that funding, or is the school division the source of that funding with their tax dollars? For me, I think this is something that requires further discussion. We've read the resolution and had discussion, and I will ask for a recorded vote on the resolution that we have before council. And I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Our next is 15.3, request for quotations for the purchase of a utility vehicle. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul accept the low bid for the supply of an all utility vehicle and optional attachments submitted by Duron Equipment Inc. in the amount of $103,469 plus GST. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bisetti, seconded Councillor Pereg. Mr. CAO, before I go around the table for any questions, the administrative report was attached. Is there anything further that you're wanting to add for council on this item?
No, this was an item brought to budget. It's under the budgeted amount and just over the $100,000 amount. So administration needs to bring this to council. Any item we have over $100,000 we bring to council. So that's why it's here tonight. It was advertised and tendered following all policies and procedures. It is currently under the budgeted amount, and we are looking for council approval to move forward with this bid. This was the only bid that we received, and it was advertised in the Selkirk Record, and so people were well aware of this bid or this tender.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Link, any questions regarding the tender purchase?
No, but I have a comment that I'm very surprised that the RM would receive only one tender from one company. It's very surprising. And also I would like to comment that for the price that was approved by council, they managed 2 of the attachment accessories to be purchased for part of the approved funds, I guess $10,000 worth of attachments. And I'm sure that next budget go round, they'll probably be asking for more attachments because this machine appears to be equipped with all that is necessary to attach whatever they wish. Thank you. That's all.
Councillor Bisetti, any questions regarding this purchase?
Just more of a comment. It's just good to see that our budget was done early enough that these tenders can get out and we can get this equipment prior to us needing it around Sonova and that kind of stuff and have it here ready to use for the summer. Thanks. Good job to the CAO and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kleiber, any questions regarding this purchase?
Yes, I'm just wondering, with our tender and procurement policy, do we not have to have 3 bids? And if we only have one, doesn't that go back out to tender until we have 3 so that we can do a comparison? Make sure that we're getting a good price?
Sorry, Councillor Kleiber, was that a question or a statement?
I formed it in a question.
Mr. CEO, are 3 bids required?
No, they're not.
Could you explain to me why we would not follow our tender and procurement policy of getting 3 quotes?
Well, we advertised, no, we advertised this, it was for bid. There was only one bid on it. We could advertise and put it on to infinity, and if you only get one bid, you can't force anyone to bid on it. No, you pick the lowest bid. There's nothing that says that we require 3 bids.
Well, I guess I'll have to read the tender and procurement policy because I believe it does say that we're supposed to get 3 quotes at certain prices. So, I mean, I guess my concern here is that we aren't overpaying, and, you know, calls can be made to other equipment companies just to kind of get an idea if we're in the right ballpark. That's kind of what I'm looking at here.
So when the department heads come and they present to myself or to council on their budget amount, that's where they would do the phoning and talk to companies and get an idea of what this is going to come in at. So when they've put this bid out, it's been advertised, so everyone's had the opportunity. We wouldn't go out and after there's a bid out there that's been advertised and start phoning companies to go against a bid that we have.
Go ahead, Councillor Kleiber.
Not asking companies to go against the bid, or just be to phone and see whether or not that number is in the ballpark, so that we're not overpaying for the equipment. That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Craig, any questions, concerns?
No, I have no concerns. It was advertised. Now the companies had a chance to bid in it. Only one bid came in, and I think that's legal. And I totally agree. Like, we can't wait until infinity to wait for bids to come in. Sometimes multiple companies bid, sometimes one company bid. And I agree with what's happening. Let's move on. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Craig. I'm fine with the way this is as well. It's gone out, it's been advertised. I thank our staff for getting on that and sending it out there. That's been advertised in the record and on Merck. Mr. CEO, was it advertised on that as well? I'm seeing nods from Councillor Bisetti. My concern would be in going back and doing something different, that we would face legal action from the company who was the sole company that submitted, and under the budget that we have, that would have legal action, that we're just going to keep submitting it out. That would be concerning. So we followed our proper process, and I'm pleased with that. Ultimately, we want lots of people applying and submitting bids for the things that we have budgeted for. It's great for our residents. It brings down the price. I hope that companies want to continue to do business with West St. Paul and don't have any reason to be discouraged from submitting bids and working with us. But thanks to the company that did submit. I have read the resolution. I have a mover and a seconder. I will ask for a recorded vote, and I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And Councillor Kleiber, I did not see how you voted.
I'll be abstaining from the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is carried. No notice of motion, and we have one in-camera item, appeal submission, council members code of conduct. I will read the resolution to go in camera. Be it resolved that in accordance with... Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Kleiber.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Considering this in-camera item is concerning my appeal,
Pardon me.
I'm going to
If I may,
recuse myself from the in-camera portion and leave the meeting at this time.
Madam Mayor, if I may, before we go in camera, we had 15.4, the Manitoba flood outlook.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. But when we get to that part, I'll be doing that.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Shaw. 15.4, the Manitoba flood outlook. To be able to provide council with an update, our CEO's been in constant communication with our MEC, Ken Azaransky, and just to let council know that we are getting those updates on flooding as spring approaches. And Mr. CAO, is there anything that you're wanting to add that Ken has been sharing?
Well, I think the only thing that I'd add at this point is what we were told, the last thing that we were told by the province, which was last week, that the worst case scenario right now, the worst case, so that means as of last week, if we had a lot of rain and a lot of snow and then a quick melt, we would see something equivalent to 2011. But that's with all the conditions being as bad as they can. So right now, and you don't like to hex yourself or talk about it too much, we're looking like we're in pretty good shape here.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. As we get closer, maybe in April, we could just have an update from our MEC. There's some written information, and then council and public can see that as well. But thanks for letting us know that he's in contact. The CAO and I believe, were the only ones that attended the flood prevention, a flood outlook session, and it was very good. And the province was extremely optimistic, and that was about 2 weeks ago. Time is flying by here. And they continue to provide updates. So far, no concerns. And the MEC had some contact with residents that were concerned and met with them. So, yeah, thank you. All right, with that said, I will read the resolution to go in camera. Thank you, Councillor Kleiber. Go ahead, Councillor Link.
Goodbye. I'm Councillor Kleiber. I'm going to say goodbye, and I will not be returning to the meeting for the adjournment. Have a lovely evening.
You too.
The appeal on Code of Conduct case number 2021-03 is presently in the hands of the appeals director. And as such, I will be refraining from any further discussion with council about case number 2021-03 until the final decision has been made by the appeals director. Therefore, I will not go into this in-camera part of the meeting. I would appreciate a call at my home number when council is moving to rise and report, and I will be rejoining the meeting at that time. Thank you.
Councillor Busetti.
Comment, Councillor Link, how do we know this isn't the answer to what you're just asking for? That's all we might be discussing here. Just putting it out there that it might be what you're waiting to hear the answer on.
They needed 30 days. I don't think it'll be done. There was no information on the agenda to indicate that the appeals director had come to a decision. Thank you.
Amy, can we put Councillor Link in a waiting room and she could shut her sound off instead of us phoning her? I don't know Councillor Link's number. I don't you know, I'm not going to be phoning her at home. Is there a way we could put her in the waiting room and she could wait while we go in camera, and then we can notify her then that she can come back?
I'm sorry, Mr. CIO, I didn't set this meeting up to be access waiting rooms. I'm sorry.
Well, then fine, I'll simply leave the meeting at this point. It's 4 minutes after 7. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Right, I will read the resolution to go in camera. Be it resolved that in accordance with section 152(3) of the Municipal Act, council do now move in camera to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages and respecting which discussion in public could prejudice a municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations. And be it further resolved that in accordance with section 83(1)(d) of the Municipal Act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at a regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Busetti, seconded Councillor Parag. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed and we are going in camera. Thank you. camera that I will read. Be it resolved that we address the unauthorized personal appeal submission issue as discussed. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Brusetti, seconded Councillor Parag. I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. That's it for this evening. Can I get a mover to adjourn our meeting? Moved by Councillor Brusetti, seconded Councillor Parag. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.